education. Kuku yangu inasoma, mtoto yangu inasoma nini? When he started school at Maranda, primary school then, went to Maseno. Then now, he was a very sad student. When the sister of a Mzungu called Kerry Francis saw him, then she told her brother that there's a young boy here who is intelligent, but he seems to be very sad. So Kerry Francis called him. And he said that my fear is that I lack education. But if I go back home, I will not come back. Because my father will not pay school fees. So Kerry Francis adopted him. So during school holidays, he would do menial tasks in the school and get money to pay his fees. That is how he moved from Maseno to Alliance High School to Makerere. Then, after a while, he disagreed with he came back and taught at Maseno. Eventually disagreed with the colonialists, resigned, and started a business in Kisumu. So that's where we were brought up. I was born in Maseno, brought up in Kisumu. And then those days, in Kisumu, we grew up in an estate called Kaloleni. Running around, we also used to look after cows. Those days, there were cows in the towns. Then we started education there. I remember when the king died, King George, we were made to sing by the teacher. King George wetu mfalme mkuu amekwisha aga dunia. Sijui kama atarudi tena. So we went there, we were nursery, primary 1, 2. Then our father decided that the life in town was making us too much wakora, and decided to remove us to take us to rural school, where he had gone to school. Now we were in standard 2, going to standard 3. So when we went down there, because in the rural areas, people were going to school when they were very old. So they said, these children cannot go to standard 3. We were made to start again down there, almost like as a nursery, coming up, losing 3 years of education. But that did not discourage us, because you sit in class with children, you're being taught things you already know, but you have to persevere and go on like that. Then it reached a time, because Jaramogi had disagreed with Kerry Francis, because he felt that Kerry Francis was looking down upon Africans, that were not equal to Europeans. Even the school where he was teaching, there were 2 separate quarters for European teachers and quarters for African teachers. And then so their relationship became love-hate. So it came a time when my elder brother did an examination, and this was called Cape. And he passed so highly, he was one of the top children in then the so-called South Nyanza. So, and he had written his first choice, Alliance High School. And he was not taken Alliance. He was not even taken in Kisii High School. He was taken to Maranda High School. So my father did not agree. He came to Alliance with my brother, elder brother Buru, to Kerry Francis. Kerry Francis told him, Jaramogi, I told you never to go to politics. You decided to go to politics, and you are creating a lot of problems. That's why I cannot take your child here, because it's going to create problems in this school. And I've also already told the headmaster in KCI school not to take him. So my father was very annoyed. Then he decided to relocate us to schools outside the country at that time. But he already did not have a passport. His passport had been impounded because he had gone to China in those days, Red China. But that's another story. He was now traveling on a passport given to him by the late Kwame Nkrumah, President of Ghana, and another one by Gamal Abdel Nasser, President of Egypt. So he took Oburu. He smuggled Oburu with him without a passport to Addis Ababa, where he got some traveling documents, and then to Khartoum, Cairo, then to Europe. Me, I was put on an OTC bus. From here, I traveled on a bus, OTC, to Dar es Salaam. And then when I went there, I went to Mwalimu Nyerere. Nyerere is the one who gave me a traveling document passport. So I became a son of Mwalimu Nyerere. That's why when I go to Tanzania, they say I know I've come back home. So Mwalimu adopted me and then gave me a traveling document. That's how I ended up in Europe. But I went first to Cairo, where I was arrested because I did not have a valid vaccination certificate. In those days, smallpox and yellow fever. I was put in a quarantine at the airport in Cairo for 4 days. Then I went into town, and I lived in Cairo in an estate called Zamalek. And I became part of that society. Gamal Abdel Nasser, President of Egypt, welcomed me. And I became, because I was a soccer player, I became a member of Zamalek Football Club. And from there, now I went by ship. We drove through the desert to Alexandria. Down there, we boarded a ship. We went overnight to a place called, to Syria, a port called Latakia. The ship docked because it was a passenger cargo ship. We left Latakia when the ship was still loading and went to Damascus. When I arrived, I didn't know that Damascus was on earth when we were being taught in school. So we went to Damascus after the place where Paul became converted. Saul became Paul. So there used to be my uncle who was very religious and he used to tell us about Damascus in heaven. So I went and got a postcard and wrote to my uncle and told him I'm in Damascus. It is on earth. From there, we now travel along across the Mediterranean, the route that Peter and Paul were taken to when they were being taken to Rome because they had refused to be tried under the Jewish law. That route all the way to an island called Malta. Then in Malta, there we met an African American who was in that island, welcomed us, we had a good time. From there, we went back to Africa, in Tunis. From Tunis to Algiers. From Algiers, we travel now toward Gibraltar. But before getting to Gibraltar, we had to be baptized in the ship. Because people in the sea are very superstitious. They are dangerous point in the sea. And if you have not been baptized, a sea name, there will be trouble when you cross Gibraltar, because then you are entering Atlantic. So we were dressed in very rags, and you go and hide, they come and find you, and then they bring you out to the deck. You are taken, they're holding your hands, they draw water from the sea with bucket and pour on you. Then they baptized you. My name was a sea needle, swordfish. That is my sea name. So that when the devils come, they will not identify you. You will be like a sheep, like a fish. We crossed Gibraltar and entered the Bay of Biscay. Heavy winds came, carrying the ship like a piece of paper, 100 meters up and down. You are just vomiting. You drink water, you just vomit for 4 days, consecutive days. Until we reach the English Channel, then into London. London, they're speaking Cockney. I never thought that white men could be doing this manual work, the dockers. When I woke up in the morning, they were there, talking, Azungu's there. Then we went into London. We stayed there. Then we went to Germany. From there, we went from there via Rotterdam to Denmark, then into Germany. You enter there, you're a young boy, and then now, new language, you have to start learning language. I learned the German language. I was very good in language. Actually, I was top of my class in the German language. And then after that, now you begin to now do other subjects. You're learning physics, you're learning mathematics, you're learning chemistry, biology, and all those. And eventually, I did my O-levels there. Then my A-levels that time. Then I went to university, the University of Magdeburg, Otto von Guericke. Studied there. Eventually graduated. Then came back to Kenya. I had registered for a PhD in my university. I was only coming here briefly for a holiday and then go back. But when I arrived here, there were problems. The Kisumu incident, where many people died. And all of a sudden, the same night, I'm with my father in the house. A state of curfew has been declared. You can't leave. 4 days later, my father is arrested. The others had been arrested before and taken to detention. So I'm here now. I come to Nairobi, and I want to start now life. We had been living in Nairobi during holidays in our house. First in Bahati, then Jerusalem. So I was not a stranger to Nairobi. But now I come here and start working. I start looking for a job because I have my siblings who are still going to high school. Now I cannot go back to Europe. I apply for jobs. I got offers, railways, breweries, and the University of Nairobi. I took the university job. That's how I landed here in 1970. It was then still University College, the College of University of East Africa. The other campus was in Dar es Salaam, and the other one was in Makerere. But a few months later, the University of East Africa was dissolved. Nairobi became a full-fledged university. And then now started here. Then one day, one of our mechanics here at the university, it's called IG Desai, comes to me and tells me, Mr. Odinga, there is an Indian who has been kicked out of Uganda by Idi Amin. He had a factory in Jinja, and he has uprooted all the machines and brought them to Nairobi. He's selling these machines because he's living. He was an electrical engineer. You are the mechanical engineer, you may need to do something with those machines. So he takes me to a house of a Kalasinga in Parklands. When I go there, I see machines there, a lathe machine, a milling machine, a rolling machine, welding sets, and a press. And I tell him I can do something with this. But I paid the money. The guy was demanding 12,000 shillings, which I didn't have. My salary here was 2,500 shillings per month. But I had an Opel car I had brought from Germany, left-hand drive. I sold it, then I got the money to pay the Indian to buy those machines. I bought them. Then I now needed capital to start the plant. I was able to, then I went to a banker who used to be my father's banker, Bank of India. And then I told him I'm looking for money. I needed 20,000 shillings. Then he told me, don't come back again here to see me, because these people are going to put me in trouble. So many people are trailing you. But come in the evening at 6 o'clock, this window, and knock this way. So, in the evening I went, and I knocked at the window. He opened the window and threw 20,000 shillings at me. And that is how I started me in business. So with that, I went to industrial area. It was called then Kingston Road. Today is called Kampala Road. I rented a shed, 5,000 square feet. At that time, there were Kenyans who had been kicked out of Uganda because they were doing what was called Ugandanization. And they are here very highly skilled workers. I hired them, and we started making these casements, doors and windows, steel windows and so on, welding. That's how I started my company. Then I met a German during the German Independence Day celebrations, and we talked in German. Then I told him I'm teaching at the University of Nairobi, but I also have a plant in Kingston Road. He said they have started Kenya industrial estates to help Kenyans start industries. So he came the following day to look at my factory. When he looked at it, he told me, look, we are trying to make manufacturers out of laymen who don't know. But here is somebody who knows what is supposed to do, and a qualified engineer. This project of yours definitely qualifies for financing. That is how he took me, went to industrial estates. Then we prepared a project paper expansion of my project. And I got a loan, 350,000 shillings. Which I now bought some modern machinery from Germany and started. That is the story of my company, East Africa Spectra Limited. I wanted to tell you those two stories of SK and myself. But then, let me now, basically, I don't want to bore you people. I'm going to be very brief. Okay. I listened to a number of those who spoke here.